Very good evening. So, what I'm going to be speaking to you about in this video is dirty little secrets, and that is from an old workplace where I no longer work. And I was just speaking to somebody before about illegal things because I was talking to that person on a social media platform and he confirmed that what happened should not have happened. So that's about 10 or 12 people now who have said that, which is why I'm doing the video, which is titled Dirty Little Secrets. Now, here we go. I've worked in many different places in my home city, that's Newcastle upon Tyne. I've done many different driving jobs. Some of those jobs were a challenge, and some of those jobs did involve very long hours. Now, at one of those jobs, I came across a culture, and it's not a nice culture either. Now, one of the things which I've split this into 6 parts, and I'm going to cover all 6 in this video. One thing I won't be mentioning is the company. And because I've worked in many different industries, let's just say that, this one industry is very bad at what they do, and they get away with it. So here we go. Now, in a few different jobs that I've had supervisors, and those supervisors have wore different uniform to the rest of us. And in those different places of work, some of them you've had to wear a uniform, which I suppose is standard because they don't want people to come in their normal clothes, which is understandable. Now, one of the things which I found that a lot of places did not like was this. They did not like it if you did YouTube, which I do. I've done YouTube since the first week it came out, and that is a long time. And I've only really had problems with one company, and it's a nationwide company, because I would do videos roughly before I went into work, and here's the thing. In those videos where I am doing a promotion of a product, they would turn around and say to me that you can't do that. And I would say to them, why? Why can't I do that? Because you're in uniform. Well, in some cases, yes, that could be true. But in other cases, it would be that you are promoting said company. And if you're promoting a said company, i.e., you're not speaking ill of the company, then 9 times out of 10, they don't care. However, in one of the companies I have worked for in the past, I came across people I would call supervisors who wear a different coloured uniform to the rest of the workforce. And one of the things that I came across was a staff development program. There's one point. That's very important. Very important. Because with a staff development program, you get the chance to, if you so wish, climb the ladder. You start off in one role and you climb the ladder to another role and so on. Now, at one of my employers, corrected, they did not like the fact that I was doing YouTube. Matter of fact, one of them hated me personally. And he made it his goal, along with others, to ensure that I was put on report more times than I have fingers. And that's the honest truth. Now, there was one of these supervisors, and this supervisor took home evidence from one of the vehicles which we used at work, because the vehicles were cameraed. And he took it upon himself to basically take home evidence of something that had happened out on the road to get at the driver. And what happened was, with him, he went through the disciplinary process like every employee has to go through, where you're pulled in and you give your case, and they turn round and they either give you a warning, a written warning, because there's 2 different types. You get the verbal and you get the written. And this particular person, who had worked at the company for a long, long time, he got dismissed. He did fight his dismissal as I fought my dismissal. And they threw him under. Now, because what happened to him, it was quite a bit of a shock because of his role as a supervisor. But one thing happened nobody expected. And that one thing was this. Another vacancy came up, and this was a monitoring vacancy where you are sitting in an office and you are monitoring a system, and that system monitors everybody who is out on the road. Now, this person had been dismissed, sacked, and within a very short space of time, rumours started to float that this person had been seen, and where that person had been seen, and the type of vehicle that they were driving, which I thought at the time was a little bit weird. Anyway, the strange part is this is linked to favouritism, which is another section. But it's the first time I've ever heard of a person being dismissed from a company and then re-employed in another role. Now, these supervisors, they had a part of their role, which was if somebody did not turn in and there was nobody else available, that supervisor would take that vehicle and would do whatever was asked, and they didn't say anything in return. And that's how I found out that that person had been re-employed by the company. And I won't mention any names. I'll call them Ben, Alec, whatever. Because at the end of the day, some of these people I have known for years. Now, another very good friend had been out and he was doing a duty, and this duty he was unfamiliar with because he worked on different duties. So he was given this task one day. As he was driving along, he went over a mattress, and what happened should not have happened, because the vehicle he was driving, it was brand new. It had only been at the workplace for a short period of time, so it was expensive. So as he's driving along, there's a mattress in the road. Now, because these vehicles are big, he didn't think anything about it. But what actually happened was, as he was driving and he went over the mattress flipped and it went up. And he got caught. Now, we found out within the workforce that in that rear part of the vehicle, there's a cage, and that cage protects the engine. That cage was not on. No, it had been taken off for work to be done, and it hadn't been put back on. And what happened was, basically, he carried on all the way through to the return part of the duty. It's basically your turnaround point. And as you got there was a fire, and it was a big fire. The damage was the vehicle was wrote off. Now, that driver was thrown to the wolves, and the supervisors and upper management ripped him a new backside. Now, bear in mind, this guy had been working a long, long time. He did eventually get his job back, but he had to fight to get his job back. My injury, I'll talk about that in a minute. My injury was basically a fault that I didn't know anything about. And that fault did here. Now, when I say that what happened to that driver was horrific and wrong, well, he basically was thrown to the wolves and ripped apart. His world changed, as did mine. Now, here's the thing. I had many friends over my time at the company, and I noticed something. There were people, good drivers, and these people were being terminated, sacked. And the majority of them, once that had happened and they were terminated, they went to work for other operators within the city. But they had to begin again on the bottom rung of the ladder, i.e. whatever the starting wage was. They lost a heck of a lot of money. And I found out of a thing which I didn't even know existed. I learned about this thing from a course I did, and that course was in Birtley at the upper part of Gateshead, because I didn't want to stay on benefits after I was terminated. I knew I had to get this fixed. I knew that. I was waiting for the NHS because there was a waiting list. And what I've since found out is this. What they do here is a small hole, and they go in and they suck out all of the crap. Then they stitch you up, because it's such a small little thing. You do your physio, which I'm currently doing again. And what happens is through the physio, after 4 sessions, you can go back to full-time work. Now that's brilliant news. It means that I have the surgery later on this year, possibly September, October, and then I see Mike, the physiotherapist, and then I can go back into full-time work. Now, favourites within the business. There are some favourites within the business. These people got away with a lot of things, including blackmail. Strong word. Yeah, very strong word. Now I've kept my mouth shut. I did seek help, and that help was to fight to get my job back. And when I did that, I was getting medication from my doctor. The medication was tramadol. And I found this out from people who were there to help. Well, that's what I thought. I did think that. You were paying subs towards that. But these people, because I didn't like the way I was being treated, so I rang up the head office. And this is where I found out who the favourites are. Because I sat in a meeting where I said nothing for around about 20 to 30 minutes of an hour meeting. And in that time, I was ripped a new backside. Now, one of these people was a favourite, and how he became a favourite was because what he had done. Promotion. Promotion higher and higher and higher within the workforce. And what he was doing was he was basically taking long-term people out the door. New people come in. Lower wages. And because it was lower wages, well, that gives you a bonus. The bonus, shares. Brownie points. Now, here's the thing. These drivers, a lot of the drivers who I knew now work for many different companies. And a lot of those are happy. A happy driver. Yeah? That's a good thing. Because if you're happy, you're pleasant to all those who you see in a working day. Not all drivers are happy. Some are miserable. Why? You're stuck in traffic. Or your vehicle has a problem, you're late, and nobody will assist you. So you're in an issue. Now, here we go. Yeah, drivers who work elsewhere. There are many, and I mean many of them, because the skill that they learned is transferable. Now, in my case, what I did was I went through a process of taking action to try and get back to the job I loved. And then COVID struck. We all know what happened in COVID. Everything went into lockdown. Everything. The only things that were open were Asda, Morrison's, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, and essential places like garages, etc. Everything else shut down. People started to work from home. And people in government during that time turned round and said, if you can work from home, please do. Now, the work I used to do, you couldn't do that. No. So, what I did was this. I wrote 2 letters. Both letters were identical. One was to a tribunal. The second was to DVLA, change of address, because it's a legal requirement. Now, both letters went off recorded delivery the same day, at the same time. I watched the person in the post office put the letters into the post box in the bag, and within 10-20 minutes the postie van came along, parked up, picked up the bag from the post office and takes it to the main post office so it could be sorted and sent where it needs to go. Now, the reason why this is important is this. North Shields Tribunal claim they never received my letter. That's what they claim. However, DVLA, they did get my letter. What they did do was they took my driving license, and because everything was in lockdown, what happened? I had to wait 9 months. 9 months to get my driving license back. Now, what I'm doing now is, because there's a change of government, what I'm doing now is I'm going to contact the highest legal person in the United Kingdom, and I'm going to turn around and say to that person, here is the case number. This is when I moved, and you can check with DVLA when they received my letter, and you can also check with the tribunal at North Shields why they didn't receive mine. Because if you have to sign for it, recorded delivery, you have to sign for it. Whoever signed for it, it must be a record. So, anyway, the purpose of this video is dirty little secrets. And during this video, I have told you some. There are more. Oh yes. I'm just holding back on those. And because I haven't mentioned any company, and I have worked for quite a few companies driving, well, unless you basically have knowledge, then you wouldn't know which company. So I'm going to upload this now to YouTube, and the other little secrets will come out. And if I get the reply from that person high up, I think it's the Attorney General, that I'm happy with, I will again do another video and let you know what they have said. So thanks very much for watching. Give me one of them if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe, and please spread the word. You see, once this and this are both fixed, I can go back. Now, one thing before I go, just one thing. What I found out in Burtley, which I mentioned earlier, a lovely lady called Jade, and what she said to me and Philip. Now, Philip was an ex-funeral director. He used to drive the hearse, and we sat next to each other in a course. Now, Jade said to us this. She was a transport manager, and what she said to us was this. When you go to apply for a new job role, what tends to happen is you're asked for references. And this is another dirty little secret, which is why I'm telling you about it. What Jade said to me was, you're not allowed, under UK law, you are not allowed to give a bad reference on anybody who is seeking employment. But what she said to me and Philip was this. What you can do is, when somebody rings up a boss and you go, hello, and the person on the other end of the phone, who is your prospective employer, asks, could you give me some information about said person who has just applied? what normally happens is they would turn around and say that you're good at this, you're good at that, and you're good at the other. But what Jade turned around and said to me was, and Philip, she says sometimes if they hate you, this is what they will do. When the person is asking on the phone, could you give me some background information on this said person? They will turn around and go, I'm very sorry, but I'm not prepared to speak about that person. And they put the phone down. And she said, you would be really surprised at how many times places of work do that if they hate your guts. And what I found out from Jade was this. It's a technical way that they can blackball you. So you could have clean license and many years of service, but when they turn around on the phone and say, I'm not prepared to speak about that person, and then put the phone down, well, the person who's ringing to find out information about you, how are they going to react? Possibly they're going to take what your application form is and put it in the bin. So there's 7 different parts to Dirty Little Secrets. Thanks for watching.